It is Climate Week here in New York City. The annual event partners with the United Nations General Assembly and brings together business, political, and civil leaders from all around the world, all to collaborate on climate action and policy. Now, this year, many of the week's speakers, they've been focused on the transition to clean energy. However, President Trump denounced that idea during his address Tuesday at the UN.
It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail.
For more on this, let's bring in Bill Ritter. He is the former governor of Colorado. He also chairs the board for the nonprofit Climate Group North America, which hosts the official Climate Week program. Governor Ritter, Bill, thank you very much for being here with us. You heard the president right there calling green energy and climate change the greatest con job in the world. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are no matter how many times you say it or how you say it, it doesn't make it true. And that's really proved out by all the people who do come to Climate Week to have a very serious discussion about how to address a very global issue. And there's really two parts to that. One part of it is just looking at all of the business interests that are represented here. There are investment banks from around the world. There are corporate leaders. There are corporations that are involved even in, trying to figure out how they reduce their emissions. They're from the Northern Hemisphere, the Southern Hemisphere. They're from all over the globe. And there are political leaders. So heads of state. We have, governors, senators. We had great panels with locals, with mayors, because they're really closest to the ground on the impact of climate change. And so you look at all the serious interests represented there from around the globe, and you say, one person and one person's administration saying it isn't so doesn't make it so, because the rest of these people look at the evidence on the ground that climate change is real. The second part of it is there's a business case to addressing it. People don't want to miss this opportunity because this really is a place where there's an energy transition. It's a global energy transition. The dollars that are represented by the money that can be made off of getting ahead of this are significant in a very significant way. I mean, China understands this. India understands this. Good part of Europe all understand this. And yet at the federal level, the leadership that we're seeing that's lacking here is costing us to be part of a global competition.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that. I mean, the rhetoric and the dialogue around climate change and green energy has changed so much here in the States these past few months, especially. Is that the case internationally? How is that being perceived there?
Well, it's interesting. Internationally, I think most people still really understand that this is an important issue to deal with. There are places where and it's interesting, there are places where the government is somewhat of a populist, authoritarian rule, and they're not addressing climate change, in part because it's just not a popular thing sometimes to try and deal with as an issue for the people on the ground. And yet, China is now manufacturing over half of all the EVs in the world and selling them into markets where we could actually sell into those markets if, in fact, we were trying to compete with them. Again, India is very concerned about its emissions and trying to bring those emissions down. The leaders are really trying to do things that they can do to bring their emissions down. In Africa, they have not been part of the problem. So what they're saying is we're having the worst impacts visited upon us in places in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, even the coast of Africa, and yet we weren't part of the problem. So how do we have this global conversation about compensation, about the things that we need to do to handle the impact that's coming our way? And that's the rest of the globe.
It's a very important conversation. And former Colorado Governor Bill Ritter, we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for meeting with us here.